Hello, I'm Davies, the presenter of Dragon's Den, and what I want to talk about is numbers, because there's nothing that gets people in more of a tangle when they go into the den than all the financial information that the dragons want. So I thought we could set out what it is the dragons are usually looking for and what preparation you need to have done if you want to make a successful pitch. And the interesting thing is, of course, that whether or not you're actually pitching to the dragons, if you want to set up your own business, you need to have a handle on all those numbers. So let's have a look at what goes on. First, the dragons want to know what profits you're going to make. They need to know the profits you can expect to make to know how much your business is worth, because ultimately there's a relationship between the profits the company makes and the value. And then once they've got the value, they can work out whether it's worth them investing. So that is where it's all going. That's where it's all headed. Now, to get to the profits that you're likely to make, what the dragons really want to see is that you have sat down and worked out a business plan for the next 3 to 5 years, that sets out your revenues that you think you can make, the costs that you will incur, and consequently the difference between the costs and the revenues, which is the profit that you're going to make over the next 3 to 5 years. That's all it boils down to. Of course, in practice, it's often a little more complicated than that, but that's what you're trying to do. Revenues, costs, and profits for the next 5 years. One fairly significant problem is that if you're looking ahead 3 to 5 years, you don't know what your business will sell or what its costs will be. You have to make a forecast, or perhaps that's a glorified word for a pretty good guess. But you do want your forecast, your estimate of what your business can achieve, to be as realistic as possible. So that's the first thing, make it realistic. The second thing is it has to be consistent. If you're forecasting huge sales, then your revenues need to reflect those huge sales, but your costs also need to reflect those huge sales. You can't have big revenues as though you're going to make huge sales, but minimal costs as though you're barely selling anything. So what your business plan is trying to do is to check the consistency of all the things that you're building in to your business projections. They don't have to be too precise. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking they need to get all these numbers down to the 3rd decimal place. You don't have to. They are only guesses after all. What you want is your figures to be realistic, broad brush estimates of what can be achieved. There's really no need to make them all too precise. All forecasts are ultimately based on assumptions. You're going to have to make assumptions about the price you can get away with charging, about the cost that your product will have, about the number you will sell. These are all assumptions you're going to have to make. And once you've produced your financial forecast, you know what you have to do? You have to test your assumptions. You must question them, break them, bend them, remake them, and see how robust your financials are when you do that. How much profit do you make when the assumption you had made over price is wrong? How much profit do you make if it costs more than you thought, or if you don't sell as many as you thought? You must constantly question your own assumptions.